We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button. If you like the content, share the video with your family and your friends. If you want to support this channel, this Rebel Outpost channel for college football sickos with a donation to help us keep the lights on, hit the $ where you make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room, with your phone calls later in the show. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? I can. It's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got no evidence. I'm just Greg the Cooler, who's got a horrific record against the spread. But this week, I am Greg the Believer. Can you feel it? It's coming. It's coming around the corner here at Peek Around the Corner. What am I talking about? What am I feeling? Chaos. Total chaos throughout the college football world this Saturday. Chaos. Greg the Chaos versus everybody. Big 12, chaos. Big 10, chaos. SEC, chaos. ACC, chaos. G5, chaos everywhere. I am ready for it. I am absolutely ready for it, and it's going to happen, baby. It is going to happen. Can you feel it? It's arriving. Well, it is here. We are Friday. We're going to be doing a watch party Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, and then 6:30 Eastern, Notre Dame versus Army. We're going to be doing 2 watch parties. There's going to be chaos at noon, chaos in the afternoon, chaos in the evening. Let me ask you again. Can you feel it? I can. I can, baby. I can. Matt Higgins, roll tide. Is Alabama going to be swept up by the chaos? Maybe. Possibly. Could be. James Foster, go Sun Devils. Can Arizona State cause some of the chaos? I think so. I think Sam Levitt and Cam Scatterboo are going to cause some chaos. I think so. Kenneth Bowman, Skull Buffs. But maybe, just maybe, Colorado is the victim of the chaos. It's coming. Something big is coming. Can you feel it? Can you feel it, PATC family? I think you can. And I think half of you are scared. And the other half is excited. Because, let's be honest, most of us in the PATC family have been absolutely decimated by the 2024 college football season. Heartbreak from September through October, through more than 2/3 of November, Heartbreak City. And maybe us losers in the PATC family are ready to see, are ready to be witness to more heartbreak in college football. Am I being a bad guy? Am I being a bitter golden gopher? Am I being a horrible fat guy from Minnesota? Yes, yes, and yes. But I also feel like chaos. I can feel it. I can smell it. It's happening. It is absolute. I don't know exactly where. I think I got a feeling it's going to happen pretty much everywhere. A little bit here, a little bit there. It's going to be chaos. Chaos. Patrick Bear is in the house. Charlie Atwood. The Nittany Lions coming in to Minneapolis. What are they? 12-point favorites? They should have no problem. The Nittany Lions should have no problems. Tyler Warren, incredible football player, incredible football season, going against probably the worst linebacker unit in the Big Ten. No problem. Penn State should rout the Golden Gophers. However, I feel there's something coming. Chaos. CW2 Buckeyes. If the Buckeyes blow out the Hoosiers, that's chaos. If Indiana upsets the Buckeyes by 1, 2, 3 or more points, that's chaos. Another opportunity for chaos to hit this weekend. Ryan Brooks, talking about chaos. Brian Kelly and the LSU message boards and podcast. Hey, ho, ho. Brian Kelly's got to go. Loss of recruit means no reason to keep Kelly. If the Michigan boosters, the owner of Oracle, if they decide they want somebody and they do not either care about the return of investment, ROI, which they probably don't, if they get good results from this huge NIL investments in the next couple of years, if they go after somebody, they want that somebody, they're going to get that somebody. This is a new world in college football. I know a lot of people say it's not a fair fight. It's never been a fair fight, number one. Number two, the lines are being redrawn and exactly who's going to have the upper hand in these fights. These huge universities with huge alumni bases, with huge wealthy alumni bases, with huge wealthy alumni bases that are willing to give the money to the student athletes, the money perch. The money perch who have been they've been resting their chin on the realignment balance they are now putting their fist on the balance of NIL and what is a fair fight. The boosters, the money perch, are becoming more powerful every single month. Caleb Ramirez is in the house. Chief fan, Neil Brown needs to go. Neil, at least we're not 0-10 Brown. Neil Brown needs to speak a little less, produce a little more, but he definitely needs to talk a little less when he's talking about how the Mountaineer fan base should be feeling. He shouldn't really even be talking about that. He should be talking about his own accountability and the program's accountability. Again, Neil Brown stuck his foot into it. Watch Justin Walker from Coos Corner. He had a really good program on yesterday. Go give it a watch, talking about how Neil Brown stuck his foot in his mouth once again. Matt Neeson is in the house. Chief fan, the Mountaineers are going to lose by 14. Holy smokes. Stephen McNeely is in the house. Dave B still loves Jake Ratzlaff, and you should. And you should. Humble Bumble Duck. Happy Friday, Greg, and all from Duckville. I'm hosting 2 Cougs buddies this weekend for the P2 championship game, the Cougars versus the Beavers. We had a good live show yesterday talking about the quarterback of Washington State. Hopefully your 2 buddies, your 2 Cougs buddies can, throw a little bit of that green into the Washington State collective so they can keep their quarterback for next year. Jay Chapman is in the house. Heartbreak 25. Let's go Penn State. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the evil Golden Gophers. Holy smokes.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Patrick Bear, the rebel outpost, conquering the evil empire. Kenneth Bowman, nope. Minnesota money line replica. Holy smokes! James Foster, chaos is coming. Keep chopping is in the house. Mr. Rutgers is here, Connecticut fan. Vox Quindaro, the Jayhawks are coming. They are coming to cause chaos. The unofficial playoff have started. Kenneth Stromdis. I think that's a good way of looking at it as a BYU Cougar fan. Right? The playoffs have started for BYU. They beat Arizona State. They win their last game. They go win the Big 12 championship game. They're in the playoffs. The playoffs have started now for the BYU Cougars. But Kenneth Stromness, there are forces at play. I can feel it. You can feel the rumbling of chaos emerging this weekend. Will BYU be one of the victims? They were the only victim last weekend. This weekend, we're going to have a lot more than one victim. Larry Andrick, Mr. Mountaineer, is in the house. Helmer Henderson, will you sing What a Wonderful World if Indiana upsets Ohio State? You got it. Absolutely. Not only will I sing it, let me mark this down here. Not only will I sing it, I will sing it right after the final gun, the final seconds have ticked off the clock. Right there, after the game, I will sing Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World. Absolutely. If Indiana upsets Ohio State. No disrespect to the Buckeyes, even though an evil Michigan Wolverine did that very kind super chat here at Peek Around the Corner. But I've got obligations. If someone sends the super chat to sing What a Wonderful World if the Hoosiers win, that's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful request. I can't really sing the song, obviously, but I know, I'm going to be able to pull it off. Right after the game, I will be singing What a Wonderful World if the Hoosiers defeat the Buckeyes. There's going to be chaos this weekend. There's going to be chaos. Can you feel it? Chaos starts with Purdue and Michigan State. 50% of chaos. Chance of chaos, son of Sarah. I feel it, son of Sarah. I think it's way above 50%. Way above 50%. An $11 million quarterback. Michigan. Yeah. Send Brian the Accent Kelly over here to replace Gundy. Holy smokes. Look at the cowboy. He wants somebody, please. They need a change of scenery. The Cowboys, the Oklahoma State Cowboy fans, they just need to hear a different voice. Right? I think it's time, but I don't think it's time. I think it's time for the Oklahoma State Cowboy fans, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. John Till, if Indiana wins, Will you please sing Charlie the Chocolate Factory, I've Got a Golden Ticket? John Till, I appreciate your super chat, but I already took a request. I can't take more than, nobody wants to listen to me sing 2 songs. I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate the continued generosity you give to this channel, John Till. If you pick a different game, just let me know in the chat room. You don't need to put out a different super chat. If you put out a different game, a chaos game, where the underdog team wins, I will sing that song. I don't even know what that song is, but I'll learn it and I'll sing it. But pick me a different game, John Till. Pick me a different game. I do appreciate the super chat very much. Ryan Brooks is in the house. Dante's Inferno Purgatory is here. Replica, he thinks a coach is going to get fired. Immaculate, Mr. Hawkeye is in the house. I got it. Ohio State, I got it. It's all good. It's all locked in. It's absolutely all locked in. Charlie Atwood, if Minnesota beats Penn State, I will sing Minnesota fight song. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Gophers gotta go. We gotta do it, baby. Just don't ask me how. Again, this is Greg the Believer week. This is not Greg the Cooler, Greg the Loser, Greg the Disappointing, Greg the Gold. This is Greg the Believer. We have thrown logic completely out of the window because my logic did not work at all. In fact, how we're going to start the monologue today, you are going to see more evidence of my complete failed logic. We are going to go back in time. We're going to go back to Chalk, PATC Chalk Talk. We're going to look at my predictions for the order of finish for every power conference. It's worse than I remember. It is worse than I remember. I know I did a bad job, but it's even worse. Holy smokes. We're going to start off the monologue with that. Then we're going to look forward to this week's games, talk about the chaos, open up the phone lines. But in between those 2 segments, we're going to open up the Matt Baker from The Athletic. The great Matt Baker talking about 12 attorney generals, different states, 12 different states, going on the side of Florida State, petitioning the North Carolina State Supreme Court, saying that you cannot, the conference, the ACC conference, cannot sue a public university out of state. We'll get into it. The great Matt Baker will get into that article as well. But it won't take us much time. We're going to get to your phone calls. I want you guys to talk about it here. It is Friday, November 22nd. 61 years ago, the President John F. Kennedy assassinated. And I think this weekend is going to be a weekend of absolute chaos. Midnight Magic Music, Liberty Flames. I'm happy you've made it in. I appreciate it. Nitley 89. Good luck tomorrow, Greg. Good luck to you, Nittany. Good luck to you, Nittany Lines 89. Good luck to you. Can you feel that chaos? Can you feel it? I even feel it underneath my feet. It's a rumbling. It's a rumbling. It's a low roar right now. No pun intended. A low roar. Okay, let's get to it. You know what? Let's start off. Expedition Greg, thank you so much. Go Buckeyes! You are an early peak Cloak and Dagger member for 1 whole year. I am so humbled by that. Expedition Greg, thank you so very much. So kind of you. All of your support, not only with all of your incredible generosity, but you flagging me stories on X, all that you've done for me. Thank you, Expedition Greg and Mr. Buckeye. I appreciate your kindness so very much. So very much. Expedition Greg, you are hereby knighted Cloak and Dagger. But, Expedition Greg, but, chaos is coming. Chaos is coming this week. So buckle up, Buckeye, buckle up, and brace for impact. Okay. So, this is an absolute mess. I'm embarrassed, but we got to do a postmortem, even though we don't know the exact order of finish. We know that Greg the Cooler was freezing during the summer when I made these predictions. 2024 PATC order of finish, Power 4 conferences. Again, I don't have a date stamp on this. We did these predictions every Monday, live show, during the month of July, I believe. These were the predictions. I did not change them. You could go back to our YouTube channel. You can take a look. They were Monday live shows. Big 12. Kansas State. Number 1. Kansas State would go to the Big 12 championship game and win. Avery Johnson, blah, blah, blah. Gibbons and Dylan Edwards. I thought that was a big portal move by the Wildcats. It all went pear-shaped. Number 2, Utah. Again, that did not quite work out. Iowa State, number 3, that could still be the case. I said the Cyclones would beat the Hawkeyes. They did. But they slipped. You could see the slippage happening. Iowa State, and they fell down. And I did pretty good with the Cyclones. Kansas, number 4. I overshot it once again. Number 5, UCF. I overshot it. Number 6, West Virginia. That's secondary. That secondary let us down, Mountaineer fans. Number 7, Arizona. Woo! Holy smokes. Number 8, Oklahoma State. I did pretty good with the Cowboys. I know they had all this experience coming back. I know. But they were not. The Cowboys are probably even overshot a little bit, but I basically got the Cowboys. Disappointing season. I did not like that quarterback coming on in for his 7th year. They need a new change. The Cowboys need new blood. Probably at the head coaching spot. Number 9, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Number 10, Cincinnati. Looks like I got that correct. 11, Colorado. I apologize. I've already taken the L earlier this year, with the Buffalo fans and with Deion Sanders. I'll take the L once again. Colorado, number 11. Horrific. Greg the Cooler strikes again. 12, Baylor. Baylor is on a roll. Much better than my prediction. Greg the Cooler strikes again. Woo! One of my biggest L's of the year. And this is what kills me. I even talked about how much I like Jake Rasloff. How thought maybe he was going to be better than what people expected. That I thought he would be the number one quarterback eventually for BYU. And I still got it all wrong. BYU Cougars. Number 14, TCU, did okay there. Woo! No comment. My apologies to the Sun Devils, but no comment on how big Greg the Cooler was this summer. And number 16, Houston. And Houston has played some pretty good football. So that is the Big 12. That is the Big 12. You think that was my only bad prediction? Was that the only bad job I did? No! No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. The ACC. It almost gets worse. Number 1, North Carolina State Wolfpack. I fell in love with the Wolfpack. I could not get out of it. I fell in love. Greg the Cooler, well, Grayson McCall had to retire because of concussions. Greg the Cooler could not protect the quarterback. Horrific. On so many levels. Absolutely horrific. Number 2, Florida State. Number 3, Miami. They're probably going to be in the ACC championship game. I consider that somewhat of a victory. Number 4, Clemson. I think I might have hit that pretty good. Number 5, SMU. It looks like I undershot the Mustangs. I was a big proponent. I was a big supporter. I thought they would have a good season. I did not think they would have this good a season. Number 6, Louisville. Did okay there. Virginia Tech. Georgia Tech. California. They're still looking to try to get to a bowl game. North Carolina. Duke. Had a better season than I expected. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Panthers, much better than I expected. I thought Nate Yarnell was going to be the starting quarterback of the Panthers. I don't like him all that much. But Narduzzi started Eli Holstein. He changed it up at the beginning of the season. It worked out for the Panthers. Okay, so that is the ACC. Again, North Carolina State 1, Florida State number 2. Holy smokes. Can it be worse than that? Can it be worse than that? Okay, so the Big Ten. I got the Ohio State Buckeyes. That could still happen. Oregon, number 2. Not bad. Not bad at all. That could still happen. Number 3, Penn State. Maybe I'm a Big Ten genius. maybe I'm a Big Ten genius. The next team should be Indiana, right? Right? No. Michigan. Well, the next team should be Indiana. No. Iowa. Well, the next team should be Indiana. No, USC. They're not bowl eligible yet. Number 7, Washington. Okay, well, the next one should be Indiana. Wisconsin. They're not bowl eligible yet. Number 9, Minnesota. Number 10, Nebraska. Not bowl eligible yet. Well, the next one now has to be Indiana. I could not have been that far off on Indiana. I'm too much of a Big Ten genius to be that far off. Whoops. Rutgers. Okay, next one is Indiana. Maryland. Next one's got to be the Hoosiers. Michigan State. The next one's got to be Indiana. UCLA. Okay, the next one's got to be... There it is, Indiana. 16. The Hoosiers are 10-0. They're playing in a massive game. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a watch party. Join us, 12 o'clock noon, 12 noon Eastern time. Indiana, Ohio State. I predicted Indiana to come in 16th place. And I had Illinois as 18. Illinois, and they're about to go 9-3. That's almost as bad as my Indiana pick. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. So, I did horrific with the Big 12, horrific with the ACC, horrific with the Big 10. What about my SEC? Did I do a little bit better with the SEC? Georgia, number 1. That could still happen. Texas, Ole Miss, Alabama. And those are the top 4 teams right now in the SEC. Missouri, number 5. They're hanging around. LSU dropped a little bit. Texas A&M has an opportunity to crack into the top 4, top 5. Tennessee. So Oklahoma had a little bit down. I missed a little bit on Kentucky. The one team that I truly missed in the SEC was South Carolina. South Carolina, Vanderbilt, of course, I missed on. Not bad in the SEC. But the other 3 power conferences, holy smokes. Now take a look at this. I haven't changed anything. This has all been saved. This is all was on live shows. I haven't changed a lick. PATC 12-team playoff prediction. Okay? Number 1, Georgia. Georgia was going to get the number 1 seed. The Buckeyes were going to get the number 2 seed. I predicted North Carolina State as the number 3 seed. Whew, boy. Number 4th seed, Kansas State Wildcats. Number 5, Texas. Now that could still happen. 6, Oregon. 7, Florida State. Number 8, Notre Dame. Pretty good. Number 9, Ole Miss. Penn State. Alabama. And of course, you probably forgot, but number 12, to represent the G5, Texas State Bobcats. No! So those are my terrible, absolutely horrific embarrassing beyond belief predictions. You do great at being consistent. The SEC was easy to call. So the one thing I did okay at, Don Scruggs, Georgia Bulldog, comes in and says, well, that was a gimme, Greg. That was a 3-foot putt. You 3-putted from 6 feet on the other 3 conferences. Ah, boy. Kerry Goldenall is consistently terrible. Skull Ducky, definitely we're on something, not on to something. Taytown Hawk, Rock Chalk believes in Greg. But that is, okay, all right. Okay, let's get off of that. That is just too much. Kerry Gold knows. Greg remembers when I said SMU would win the ACC and make the playoffs a little over a month ago. Yes, you did, Kerry Gold knows. Thank you for the super chat. Yes, you did. Thank you so much for your kindness. There are geniuses, or I should say, there are flashes of brilliance in the PATC family. Flashes. I saw Expedition Greg sending you a breaking story of Cade McNamara. I did read a little bit of it. As we were going live, Cade McNamara sent out a note basically saying, there's a lot of bad reporting out there. I'm still part of the Iowa Hawkeyes. I suffered a concussion. I expect to be back again for the last week game against Nebraska. Basically, that was his letter that he put out there. He's still a proud member of the team. He hasn't left the team. The governor's bell is up tomorrow. Mr. Hoosier Montcastle is in the house. Okay, so we spent some time going back. Let me get that article up here. We spent some time going back looking at my horrific predictions of order of finish for all the power conferences. It was embarrassing, but we had to do it because there is accountability. I would take the L when I deserve it. And of course, 3 out of the 4 conferences, I have to take the big, giant L. Greg the Cooler was alive and well during the summer months. But you know what, guys? And I've said this, 2025 is going to be totally different. Because it's statistically impossible for me to be this brutal. Next year. Matt Baker. The great Matt Baker. Used to be for the Tampa Bay Times, and now he's for The Athletic. The ACC lawsuit against Florida State should be dismissed. 12 attorney generals say. This came out today. A dozen states are asking the North Carolina Supreme Court to dismiss the ACC's lawsuit against Florida State. In a brief dated Thursday and obtained by The Athletic, the Attorney General of those 12 states said the case should be thrown out because Florida State never agreed to be sued outside of Florida. Sovereign immunity. It's the latest step in a months-long, 9-figure, multi-state legal battle that will help shape the future of conference realignment. Again, the great Matt Baker from The Athletic. It started in December when Florida State and the ACC sued each other about the ownership of TV rights and revenue for future Seminole home games when Florida State leaves the ACC. Clemson and the ACC filed dueling lawsuits against each other in March. This week's argument centers on sovereign immunity. That's the concept that generally shields state entities like public schools from being sued in other states. The ACC contends Florida State and Clemson waived that right by joining and remaining in the conference, which is based in North Carolina. If the ACC is correct, its lawsuits against Florida State and Clemson can proceed in the conference's home courts in the state of North Carolina. Courts that, so far, have made favorable rulings for the league. Florida State and Clemson disagree and have appealed separate rulings to the North Carolina Supreme Court, their home states, and 10 others. 10 other states' attorney generals said Florida State never gave a clear and unequivocal waiver to allow to be sued outside the state of Florida. The same general arguments could apply to the ACC's lawsuit against Clemson. Kentucky is the only other state with a public ACC school, Louisville, that signed on. The other 9 states are Alabama, Arkansas, Idaho, Louisiana, Mississippi, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Utah. If their side is correct, the lawsuits will proceed only in the home courts of Florida State, Leon County, and Clemson, Pickens County. Their home courts have generally ruled in the school's favor. I'm going to circle back. I am going to circle back and talk about the 10 states. I think there really is, I think the only one true impactful state in this is Kentucky. We'll get back to that in a second. In April, Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody sent a letter to the Attorney General of 6 other states with ACC public schools asking them to consider involvement because the conference stance on sovereign immunity is detrimental to all of our states. Now, if you noticed, none of those 6 other states, except for Kentucky, supported Ashley Moody. Keep that in mind. If the history of college football realignment has taught us anything at this point, it is that there will be some future realignment down the road, Moody wrote then. The universities that have ratified such an expansive view of the waiver of the sovereign immunity in the ACC lawsuit may find that the sword they now wield will be turned on them. And finally, the great Matt Baker's article in the Athletic today, November 22nd, bearing a settlement, hundreds of millions of dollars hang in the balance in this ongoing litigation. If Florida State and Clemson own the media rights to their future home games, they would be able to leave for another league by paying an exit fee of only about $165 million. If the rights belong to the ACC through 2036, it will be virtually impossible for the schools to join another conference until then. Florida State and Clemson are concerned about the growing media rights revenue gap between the ACC and other leagues, SEC and the Big Ten. In a separate filing this week, the ACC asked the appellate court to raise 2 procedural questions to the Florida Supreme Court as it fights the suit filed by Florida State. So I have asked some questions since this came out. And the answer I got back, take it however you want, it was eventually, while the 10 attorney generals outside of the state of Florida and South Carolina, the other 10 attorney generals that came on board here, basically supporting Florida State and Clemson in appealing to the state of North Carolina Supreme Court. Eventually, no matter how the state of North Carolina Supreme Court is going to rule, and we're all assuming that the chalk is that they're going to disagree with the 10 attorney generals and, of course, Florida State and Clemson. Eventually, no matter how the state of North Carolina Supreme Court rules, the sovereign immunity piece of this, it's important. It might be the game winner for Florida State and Clemson, but eventually this will probably be decided by the Supreme Court of the United States. And this is going to take some time. The chalk is, now nobody really knows, because the North Carolina State Supreme Court might rule and say, yeah, you know what? The ACC cannot sue the public University of Florida State, the public University of Clemson, outside of their state, outside of their states. But probably not. And if they rule in favor of the ACC, it's going to go up to the Supreme Court, and it's going to take a long time. Okay. So it doesn't really move the ball right now too far forward or backwards. And I asked questions on what do we take about the 10 attorney generals. And I got back not a whole lot. It doesn't, it's the attorney generals from those states politically aligned with Florida State and Clemson to the most part. You really shouldn't. It's not really about their decisions. Probably have very little to do, if anything at all, with future possible realignment. But I was kind of told maybe the Kentucky one has some meaning to it. It's the one ACC state, Louisville, that decided to join Moody. And maybe, possibly, maybe. I'm not saying that there is, but maybe there's some sort of connection, some connective tissue connection somehow. Internal politics. We do know for 100% certainty, and we reported, PATC reported this to you all before it was reported publicly at the Big 12 Media Days, a couple weeks after we reported. We told you the following: Florida State and Clemson had third-party talks with the Big 12, and there was one other university that has had third-party talks with those somehow connected to the Big 12, third-party talks. It was Louisville. We reported that. We know that has happened, and we know that happened more than one time. Is that why Kentucky Attorney General jumped on this with Moody, a Florida State Attorney General? I don't know. Probably not. Probably has nothing to do with that. But that basically, I'm not really looking too much at actually what Attorney General signed on to Moody. That is the interesting one. The other ones, not so much. Anyway, so that's the story. Let me know if you're getting anything more out of that than I am. Interesting. 12 attorney generals did decide to jump on. So there is this sovereign immunity that's going to have to get probably ruled. A public university, can they be sued by the conference outside of the public university state? Is it written in the state law? Is it clear in the state of Florida? Is it clear in the state of South Carolina? And is it clear that Florida State and Clemson waived their immunity, sovereign immunity, just because they're a member of the ACC conference? Well, that is going to be up to the state of North Carolina Supreme Court and probably, most likely, the United States Supreme Court. So, anyways, so that's that story. Now, we are going to go on and we're going to go a quick rundown of this week's games once again. Because are you ready for Saturday's college football of chaos? Are you ready? I asked the question at the beginning of the monologue. Are you ready? Because I think a lot of you are not ready. I think a lot of you think it's just going to be a normal weekend. I don't think it is. I do not think it's going to be a normal weekend. I think we're going to have a huge uprising, a huge chaos. Let's go through it real quick, and then we're going to open up the phone lines. You can talk about anything you want in college football. Indiana, Ohio State, right off the bat. We're going to be doing a watch party, 12 o'clock, noon Eastern. Indiana and the Buckeyes. Now, once again, if the Hoosiers, in my opinion, if the Indiana Hoosiers win this game, obviously they're going to the Big Ten championship game, and they most likely, and they are going to the playoffs, no question about it. If the Indiana Hoosiers lose this game competitively, I believe the Hoosiers are going to make the playoffs. I've talked about it enough during this week on Twitter, on X, whatever, and you can disagree with me in the chat room with the phone calls, but I think Indiana, if they lose a close game, they're still going to be in. The strength of schedule isn't there, but the eye test is. And I think Indiana's going to get one of the last couple at-large bids. But if the Buckeyes blow out the Hoosiers, blow them out, then I think there's a chance the Hoosiers fall out of the playoffs, depending on other games, depending on what happens with other games. But because Indiana doesn't have that significant victory, the strength of schedule, Indiana is vulnerable. If they get blown out here, they could fall. They could fall out of the playoffs. I'm a firm believer in that. But I'm also a firm believer if Indiana loses a close game, they're going to be in. Because they have passed the eye test. Just like Texas. Wake Forest in Miami. I do not expect Wake Forest to be able to upset Miami. I do not see chaos, any possible chaos in that game. Ole Miss, Florida? Oh, yeah, I do. Why not? I said at the beginning of the show, I said at the beginning of the week, I'm Greg the Believer. I believe in chaos this week. I got Florida Gators covering the spread in this game. I think chaos is going to the shores of the Big Ten, to the SEC, possibly to the ACC, and most definitely to the Big 12. This is one of the games that I think people are sleeping on. The Gators are improving. Ole Miss is a very good team. I believe they deserve to be ranked where they are, number 9. But they're a little bit inconsistent in that running game. The Gators, I think, are going to give them a handful. I do not see chaos here. Last week, I was thinking this was a chaos game. Well, maybe how do I say this? I don't understand Virginia. That's the problem I'm having with this game. Virginia, the game against Notre Dame was disappointing. The Cavaliers, at the end of the day, got blown out. But, Notre Dame was somebody look it up. They were 1 of 12 or 1 of 13 on third down conversions. I mean, Virginia was in the game, play-by-play competitive. They were in there. But then they just went completely belly up. We got to keep an eye on that game. 12 o'clock noon Eastern. We're going to be doing Indiana and Ohio State, but we got to keep a close eye on Ole Miss, Florida, SMU, Virginia. I'm going to be relying on all of you to keep us updated in the chat room. The PATC family, Illinois, Rutgers, Massachusetts, Georgia. That is not going to be a chaos game. Utah, Tennessee, not a chaos game. Kentucky, Texas. Kentucky's 1-6 in the SEC. The only loss at Tennessee by 10, and we keep getting told that Tennessee's this great football team. Kentucky only lost by 1 to Georgia. Texas' biggest win is against who? Michigan. Is it Michigan? What is Texas' biggest win? Can they stumble against Kentucky? Probably not. Because for me, Texas has passed the eye test. Just like Indiana. The problem with the Longhorns is next weekend against A&M. But we will take that discussion towards next week. Texas A&M, a conference game in the SEC. Buckle up, brace for impact. And what about this game? What about this chaos game? Penn State in Minnesota. Minnesota doesn't have a chance. They're 12-point underdogs. They can't stop Tyler Warren. They can't. They can't block Abdul Carter. They can't. So this is not a chaos game. Right, Greg? Right. This can't be a chaos game. You better believe this is a chaos game. You better believe it, baby. The Gophers having a week off that they needed so desperately because they have been so banged up. You could tell in the Illinois game, you could tell in the Rutgers game, but now, senior day, Gophers, Penn State, the Nittany Lions. The last time Penn State came in to Huntington Bank Stadium as the 4th-rated team in the country, they were defeated by my beloved Golden Gophers. This is a chaos game. BYU, Arizona State. I've got Arizona State winning this game. I believe that the BYU Cougars have had an unbelievable season. I could be dead wrong about this game. BYU could end up being the Big 12 champions. And if they are, they deserve the number 4 seed. Strength of schedule. But I think the Sun Devils' time is tomorrow. BYU, Arizona State. This is a chaos game. The next one, I think, is just as much. Almost just as much. I've got the Buffaloes winning this game by 1 single point. I think this is a bad matchup for the Buffaloes. I don't think the Buffaloes are going to be disciplined enough to run that ball. They're going to be throwing against a pretty decent secondary. And Kansas's offense, the Jayhawks' offense, is woken up just a little bit. This game is going to be close. The spread, I forget what the spread is. The spread is 2.5. I think that was the same spread or close to it. BYU was favored over Kansas by about 2.5. And Kansas won. That game, this game here has chaos written all over it. The Citadel versus Clemson. Clemson's still looking for an outside shot to get to the playoffs. South Carolina still looking for an outside shot to get to the playoffs. And here is one of the remaining chaos games remaining. Tomorrow, Saturday, we're going to be doing a watch party. Army versus Notre Dame. Gorn! Beat Irish! No disrespect at all to Notre Dame, but Army, I can feel it. I've been talking to been in communication with an Army, a guy who follows Army football and some other sports. And he was telling me, you know, we look at Bryson Daly, we look at the running back Udall, because I was telling him, man, these guys look great on the highlights. These guys look great. And he says, but that's not even the best part of Army football. He says, this Army's defense, especially against the run, but in total, this Army's defense is the best defense that Army has ever put out on the football field in the modern era of college football that he can remember. This defense is absolutely 100% legit. The game's going to be at Yankee Stadium, Bronx, New York. We're going to be doing a watch party. All I'm saying, if I see Riley Leonard try to run the ball and Army laces him, beats him up, we might be seeing something here. Now, I think Jeremiah Love is probably going to get loose a few times. Mitchell Evans. Notre Dame has been on a roll. But Army, Notre Dame, that has got chaos written all over it. I don't think Wyoming can give Boise State a game at all. Oklahoma, Alabama, Sooners. Come on. Come on, Sooners. This has been a dreadful first year in the SEC. That offense, not good. You're going to have to win it defensively. You're going to have to stop Jalen Milroe. Could this be chaos here? Could it be? I don't know. I don't think so. But it's going to happen somewhere. It's going to happen in multiple spots, in my belief. Auburn, Texas A&M. Edward the Auburn Tiger, part of the PATC family. Can Auburn pull off the upset? Iowa State, Utah, and that's it. That's basically it. So there it is. There is your chaos weekend. It's going to happen. Somehow, some way, we're going to have chaos. And we are going to be here to enjoy it or to be heartbroken by it, depending on where you stand. You better get to confession, Greg. Yeah, I may need to do that. I may need to do that. Indiana wins because of special teams. Mr. Hoosier. Oklahoma is the new Nebraska. I believe in Nebraska tomorrow. They're going to get their 6th win. The Cornhuskers are going to get their 6th win. It's going to happen. Don Scruggs, the Georgia Bulldog. I'm so excited for all the conferences to meet in the playoffs. Go head to head. Let's do this, guy. Rally around your families. Oh, boy. You know what, Don Scruggs? You know what's really going on at the SEC corporate office? Do you know what Greg Sankey's listening to right now? He's got his head down on the table. He's looking at paperwork. He's feeling anxiety, a whole lot of anxiety in the SEC corporate office.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear
Chaos is coming.
thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy.
Okay, let's open up the phone lines. Tell me how wrong I got this weekend coming up. Tell me how wrong I got it again. The phone line is 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. Talking about college football. Jose, the NIL and the transfer portal. That parity breeds parity. Notre Dame by 3 touchdowns. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Nebraska will not go bowling this year. My goodness. My goodness. Army versus the world. Give me Army. Absolutely. 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 Mr. Hoosier, Daniel Montcastle, having a better individual players doesn't equate to having a better team. FF18 Buffs. Greg. The Buffs are better on the road and have not played a complete game yet. Must run the ball. Stop the run. Get out to a fast start. Skull Buffs. That big part is must run the ball. Because you can run it on the Jayhawks. You can. It's part of the reason why I still think I've gotten in trouble for saying this, but I still think if they would have given the ball to LJ Martin, if BYU would have ran the ball more, they would have had a lot of success against Kansas. I just hope Buffalo, for their sake, when they get success on the running game, stay with it. Stay with it. Now, Buffaloes are not a team that stays with the running game. That's why I think it's a pretty good matchup for Kansas. I think Buffalo wins this game but it's close, really tight, close. Jose, Alabama ties rolls over the Sooners of Oklahoma. Probably. Alabama has been playing great football, man. They might be the best SEC team. Except for, in my mind, I keep going back to that second half that Carson Beck had last week. If that's the Carson Beck we're going to get against Georgia Tech, if that's the Carson Beck we're going to get if Georgia gets to the SEC championship game, if that's the Carson Beck we're going to get for the playoffs, the Bulldogs, I predicted Georgia to win it all at the beginning of the year. I'm not going to change it. That's what it was. Georgia over Oregon. That was my prediction. If that's the Carson Beck we're going to see the rest of the way, if he finally broke out of his slump, then Georgia might be the best SEC team and the best team in the country.
From
Jose, fight on.
I'm sorry, did not get your name.
Jose, fight on.
Jose, thanks for calling, my man. Appreciate it. USC, UCLA, I didn't even talk about that game. Shame on me. USC looking to become bowl eligible, correct?
That's right. We're going for the victory bell. That's our little cross-town trophy that we battle for.
Yep. What's on your mind,
a few things. Number one, I think it's something that Tristan had called about earlier in the week, where, a lot of the, propaganda for SEC rally cries, I think it's twofold. It could be the money, where, they want to, try to get as many teams for a potential look-in review in 28, for any CFP distributions. But also I think it could be just fear-mongering to boost up ratings. And how like certain news outlets, they'll propagate stories to agitate one base, and then the other news network channel, cable news, will, stir up stories to agitate their following, their fan base, if you will.
Yeah.
It could be several reasons. You got to have something to talk about, when you're talking to college football playoffs. The other thing I was going to talk about is that ACC allegation that FSU waived their rights to sovereign immunity. They actually, if they should be arguing estoppel. There's a term in the legal realm where they're trying to allege estoppel, but for there to be an estoppel, there has to be something in writing with a certain predetermined date, either a state statute or something in their bylaws pre-stated that, you have 3 years FSU, or you have 4 years to enact your sovereign immunity, after which you waive your rights to sovereign immunity. And unless there's something in writing, they wouldn't be able to trigger that estoppel. What it sounds like is ACC is trying to allege FSU did by waiving it verbally, which they can't. It would have to be something either the state has it already in writing where it permits a certain amount of time, or something in their bylaws already predetermined that FSU would have had to sign off on.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Ryan Willie, you listen to me, buddy. You call in whenever you darn feel well like calling in. I love what you got to say.
Yeah.
We all do here, your friends and family in the PATC community. you and I still got to get together and figure out how we're going to market and design these cold weather parkas for us USC Trojans. We don't have anything.
Yeah.
We need scarves. We
Yeah.
need parkas. And we would want to be freezing our butts off up in Wisconsin. So I need your help, buddy.
Yeah. I appreciate that, sir.
That's all I had.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Greg. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Great call.
Fight on.
Fight on. Jose, USC. Great call once again.
From
I'm sorry, I did not get the name.
BJ.
BJ, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ricky Tungate, thank you so much for being an early P Cloak and Dagger member for 1 whole year. Holy smokes. Thank you so very much. I'm very humbled by that. 12 months as a member of this Rebel Outpost. Mr. Hoosier, thank you so very much. You are hereby knighted officially Cloak and Dagger. And one other thing, Ricky Tungate, I apologized to you yesterday. You might not have got it. I apologize to you because you made a very generous super chat at the end of the show 2 live shows ago, and I closed out the show without thanking you, so I apologize. Thank you for your generosity, Tungate, as always. But I do apologize for that. Thank you so very much. BJ, the floor is yours. What is on your mind? Thank you for calling, sir.
Happy Friday. And as always, thanks for allowing me to speak on your platform. And 2 things I want to talk about. However, I want to talk about something in particular, but breaking news came through today with the Florida State ACC, lawsuits. And I want your opinion because for me, this is probably the most important day when it comes to contract, media right, involvement as it pertains to college sports. And I just came in here, so you may have talked about it before, but 10, 12 states or so, filed in North Carolina, basically co-signing what the Florida AG mentioned, that, they cannot give their rights away, sovereign immunity, essentially is what they're alleging. And I kind of want your opinion about that in terms of the logic in which the states are saying. I can follow the logic. I'm not a lawyer, but if we have constitutions giving states certain rights from being sued, I don't see how a state can then turn around and sue another state without their permission. But I'm curious to hear what you got to say about that, Greg.
Yeah, we covered this early in the program. I'll go over it real quick again. I went through the Matt Baker article. ACC lawsuits against Florida State should be dismissed. 12 attorney generals say. That basically is 10 more attorney generals joining South Carolina and the state of Florida's attorney general. Basically saying that that Florida State University and Clemson did not grant a waiver to the ACC to allow them to sue those public entities outside of the state of Florida and South Carolina. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I have no idea how good their case is. I don't know how clear it is in respect to the ACC with sovereign immunity. I just am, BJ, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I have really no opinion on that. I did ask, when this broke, I did ask a couple questions of people that I know. And the answer I got back is the chalk, and I said it earlier in the program. The chalk, the favorite is that the state Supreme Court of North Carolina, will probably determine that the ACC do have the right to sue those two universities in Mecklenburg County Court. But we don't know that for sure. But that seems to be like the chalk, right? The favorite. And eventually, the question of state immunity, sovereign immunity, is going to go up to the Supreme Court at some point, and it's going to take a while. So, it might be the way that Florida State and Clemson score a touchdown on this whole thing, right? But again, if this is how they score a touchdown, it's going to take quite a while. That number one. The other negative information that was told to me after this breaking news was they weren't who the other 10 attorney generals were that jumped onto this, supported Attorney General Moody. Probably isn't really all that important of most of those attorney generals. What was interesting to the people that I talked with was that none of the ACC attorney generals in the state where ACC schools are jumped in to support Moody, except for the state of Kentucky, Louisville. That's the only attorney general in ACC country that supported Moody. That's interesting. It's interesting it's Kentucky. It's interesting that it's Louisville, because as we reported, Louisville is one of those. We know three ACC schools that have third-party talks with the Big 12, and that Louisville is one of them, along with Clemson and Florida State. Other than that, it could eventually be an historic day that these 10 attorney generals jumped in, but I don't think we're going to know if Florida State and Clemson scored that touchdown on this issue until the Supreme Court rules on it. And when that's going to happen, who knows? But it's going to be a long time probably. But go ahead, sir.
And like I said, I don't know anything about law other than very rudimentary understandings. But I know once you get up to that level, politics plays a huge part in decisions. And I would like to think, you would think from the outside looking in, if I'm a Supreme Court in North Carolina and I have other colleagues who are basically, have a lawsuit, for this level, I would think that cooler heads will prevail. And I think at the end of the day, it's just a leverage play to eventually get Florida State and Clemson out. But I do think it's important that state entities, because outside of sports, I think if I'm an AG, I wouldn't want to give up my right to be sued. Let's say if it's something that it's not even football, right? It could open the can up for other agencies to be sued outside the state, and ultimately it's tax dollars, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. So it's tax dollars, and so at the core of it, it's like there's a transfer of wealth or funds from taxpayers in Florida to taxpayers in other states without the state's approval. At the core of it, I think once you get to the bottom of it, that's what it is. And if it gets to that level, I think it's not even an option that the state is not going to allow, hundreds of millions of dollars to leave their state without their permission, right? But outside of that, Greg, I want to thank you for doing this, daily or almost daily. And what, in the process of, following you and coming on your show and stuff, I realized that 90% of folks in the comment section and in real life, they like a team. And because of now there's conference battles, they support a conference. Yeah. And they don't necessarily watch outside of their conference with the intent or with the discernment that they do within their conference, right? I can tell you watch a lot of football because you have players from random places that you know, and their skill sets and how they play, and with this current little skirmish over who should get in and who shouldn't get in, it is crystal clear to me that people have never watched Indiana play. People barely watched BYU play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have these people, and I'm talking about even people on the committee. I don't think they have time to watch all these freaking games, right? I really don't think they have time, and I wasn't a big proponent of this, but you know what entity has the ability to watch every game, at least not with their eyes, but, they can take account for every game? Computers. Computers, you can put information into a computer system, filter it out, and it'll give you a rough estimate of team's performance. And as much as I didn't like the BCS, I think the computers do a better job at comparing teams unbiased, without much bias. And I don't know how you feel about the computers, but if you could, before I'm going to get off, but how do you feel if we were to go back to a computer-based system where it determined who the 12 best teams were?
All right, I'll take that off the air. Thank you, sir, BJ.
Thank you.
Great call. I've had this. My answer is going to make everybody upset. My answer is going to be very unpopular. The question that BJ just asked me. I don't like the computer making the decision. Nope. I don't. And then, it's a battle of metrics, and I don't want computers because computers don't have any accountability. I don't want the computers. I, as a college football fan, even though I completely understand the logic and the incentive of certain conferences pushing for automatic qualifiers, and I can understand, I can understand it, man. I can understand it. I get it from the network. I get it. And maybe that's the way I get it. 4-4-2-2-1 or whatever, and you can change it up if some conference punches under below their weight or above. I get all that. But I don't want that either. I don't. The system that I want is the one that we have right now. I love the 12-team playoffs. I love the conference championship incentive, the getting the first round bye. I like the selection committee making the decision. I wish they were a little bit more transparent, a little bit more consistent. I like the idea of looking at the strength of schedule. I like the idea of looking at control. I like the idea of the eye test. I like the wins and the losses matter. All of that being in the computer of people's minds, a diverse group of people in the room making the decision. I like that we talk about it every week. I like the arguments. I like the throwing of the elbows. I like the consensus when we can get to it. I like the continued disagreement. I like the drama. I like the system that we have. The only better system that I can think of, BJ, and the PATC family, the only other system that I like more than this is if we had a committee of one and I was the one. Because, my bias would not come into play. Right? Wrong. But anyways, no, I like what we got. All warts and all, I like what we have. I think it gives I like our system the way it is. Even though it's probably going to screw. Look, there are going to be upset fans. I also don't like the idea of ESPN controlling everything. Obviously, I don't like them having control of all the playoff content. Things like that. But this is what I wanted. And now I got it. All warts and all. I'm not going to kick it out of the room. Again, nobody likes me this Friday, November 22nd, because I'm rooting for chaos. I'm Greg the Chaos this weekend. It's going to happen. We're going to have chaos. We're going to have more broken hearts than ever before on a late November. Every other late November, going to the college conference games, 2 weeks away, we would have about 8 or 9 teams. Oh, maybe we can make the Final Four. Maybe we can make the Final Four. We got way more than that on November 22nd, 2024. More celebrations are ahead. More heartbreak is ahead. Way more drama is ahead. And I'm all for it. And I'm going to be here at least for 10 hours tomorrow, Saturday. So when you get an opportunity, please join us. Tomorrow, watch parties. Ryan Willie to the USC, who mentioned my name at the end of their call. The Midwest temps are in the high 20s to 50s in November. A little bit colder in Minnesota, but yes, it does get cold. We have snow. It does get cold. The FCS playoff model has been in play for nearly 20 years with little known controversy. I prefer Rod, Nick, Steel Austin. The best system would be P2 breaking away and pooling their resources together. Some people like that. I'm not one of those people, but it's not a big enough world for me. The P2 is not a big enough world for me. I do understand all their advantages. I get it. Yes, well, maybe not number one because it would be too apparent. I might give the Gophers a number 2 or a number 3. Look, this is the Gophers' issue. It's not a bad issue. It's not negative. But you got a guy like Marcel Phillips, right? 6'6", over 220 pounds, big old defenseman, playing on USA Hockey. Big old defenseman from Wayzata, Minnesota. Right? He's just going to dominate. He's going to dominate the defensive end, Big Ten hockey. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? And he's got his teammate from Wayzata going on to University of Minnesota. These guys are going to cost money. So, yeah. So when it comes to the football budget, salary cap for Gopher football, it's going to be a little lower than other schools out there because, well, we got other things we got to pay for. Big old defense alignment, dominant defense alignment in hockey. I like we fight and call each other names so when we meet on the field, your tears will make us win so much better. A lot of confidence coming out of Georgia. Mike Drake agrees with me. Holy smokes. Wow, there is somebody that agrees with me. That happens so rarely. Thank you, Mike Drake. I appreciate it. It doesn't, it only happens maybe once a week. Thank you so much, Ryan Willie, for your super chat. I do appreciate it. Guys and gals, we are going to close it up. We've been on the air for an hour and 40 minutes. We usually go 2 hours or over 2 hours, but I'm going to be on the air for such a long time tomorrow. We are going to start this. Watch party about 11:30, 11:15 Eastern time tomorrow morning. Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Indiana Hoosiers. It's going to be dramatic. And there's some other games we got to keep an eye out for. Chaos game, possible chaos games. As we're doing Indiana and Ohio State. I hope you join us. Watch party. It's going to be a blast. Absolute blast. And then in the evening, Saturday evening, we're going to be doing a watch party. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus Army. So buckle up. Brace for impact. Tomorrow, there's going to be a lot going on here at Peek Around the Corner. College football is Peek Around the Corner. We're going to have a lot of fun. Some tears are going to be rolling down our cheeks. Join us until tomorrow. From all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner. To all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.